know how Benjamin Franklin wanted to be remembered? It was as a printer. Well, if you have any questions, please let me know. If not, folks, enjoy your day, and I'll be printing another. No, his office was actually at 2nd and Market Street, the site of a subway stop, so we couldn't do too much about that. So, if you go halfway down the subway stop, actually, there's a little plaque that says, "This is where Benjamin Franklin printed." That's where his post office was, and so forth. Yeah, he did own some of the property along here. In fact, where our book bindery is, that would be his grandson's dining room. This was 200 years ago. Now, he did own the archaeological exhibit we have next door. He also owned the area where the post office is today.
Who's the grandson of Bejamin?
Bache, yeah. Benjamin Franklin Bache was his name. He was the oldest son of Sally Franklin, who married Richard Bache.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Letter S. And they couldn't understand it.
He was not born into money. He earned it, as John Houseman used to say. He was one of 17 children born in Boston. Can you imagine having 16 brothers and sisters? I have 5 sisters. I thought I came from a large family. Well, Ben, when he was a young boy, he wanted to do nothing more than sail 7 seas. Well, that's fine, but you need money to be able to afford to do that. So it was agreed that Ben would first get whatever schooling he could, but since they didn't have public schools back then, Ben could go to private school for only 2 years, from the age of 8 to the age of 10. And then it was suggested that he work for his father, Josiah, who owned a soap and candle company right in his house. However, the smell of boiling animal fat didn't agree with Ben very much. He was getting nauseous. So it was agreed that he would work for his older brother James in his print shop. Now, how many of you have older brothers and sisters? Some of us, yeah. I know you love them very dearly, right? Well, how would you like to work for your older brother or sister and not get paid for it? Right? That was a part of the apprenticeship. You signed a contract for about 7 years. You would sweep the floors. Ben would have to take all the type out of the frame and begin to put it back into each individual sorts, using a form of lye to clean the type, very messy. Running errands, doing all sorts of nasty things. Well, you know what? After working for his older brother James for about 5 years, Ben and James didn't get along, so he did something that we don't recommend you do. Ben Franklin ran away from home at the age of 17. Came walking up Market Street. He was cold and tired and hungry, as he wrote in his autobiography. He had all of his possessions basically stuffed in his waistcoat, and the pennies that he did have, he bought 2 puffy rolls and carried them under each arm, and he was eating a third. And his future wife, Deborah, who actually encountered him the first day, said, "What a ridiculous figure this young man from Boston looked like." But later on, they would be married, and Benjamin Franklin, by his early 20s, owned a print shop just several blocks away from where we are standing. And he was printing all sorts of interesting things. Newspapers like the Weekly Pennsylvania Gazette, which is a very popular newspaper of the day. He was the official colonial printer for Pennsylvania, and later for other colonies. Actually invented some leaves into his die cast, because leaves are very hard to counterfeit. And this was a process that Franklin used for a number of different years. But Franklin's claim to fame, as far as printing, would have to be Poor Richard's Almanac. Has anyone ever heard of Poor Richard's Almanac? Yeah, Franklin created a character by the name of Richard Saunders, who was a farmer. And this farmer was always getting into some kind of mischief. And Poor Richard would write about his trials and tribulations every year. And people began to look forward to reading it to try to keep up on the life of this ne'er-do-well character. Kind of, I call him the Andy Capp of his day, you know. Andy Capp's, yeah, kind of a modern soap opera, I guess, or a serial. But what really made Benjamin Franklin really noteworthy, not only through the almanac, through his predictions about the weather and his predictions about the best time to plant crops, are some of the proverbs that we've come to know old Ben for. Because according to his alter ego, Poor Richard Saunders, penny saved is a penny earned, right? Kevin knows this one. 3 can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead, right? And I often tell him when I see him hanging out with his friends out front, if you shall lie down with dogs, you shall rise up with fleas. That also came from the Almanac, and something that Kevin will find out about soon enough. Keep your eyes wide open before marriage. What else, Kevin?
Half shut.
Half shut afterwards. Very good. Very little prompting. So these proverbs help to make Benjamin Franklin not only very wealthy through the Almanac, but also very noteworthy. So he could retire from active printing in his early 40s, Benjamin Franklin. So we have some quotes from the Almanac here, and also we have a rather telling quotation from what many people consider to be Benjamin Franklin's adopted political son, Thomas Paine, who wrote, "We have it in our power to begin the world over again. The birthday of the new world is at hand." Paine was very excited that the colonies were taking that ultimate step, were going in that direction for creating a new nation. And so, and of course, if you've been up to Independence Hall, we've added a woodcut here, that half-son, that 81-year-old Benjamin Franklin, frail person who had to be escorted from his mansion house in a sedan chair. He motioned to a couple people sitting next to him at the end of the 4-month Constitutional Convention in the summer of 1787 that he thought that the sunburst on top of the president's chair was indeed a rising and not a setting sun. He thought that that sun represented the dawn of a new nation, and he thought that our nation would be one that will rise. So if you ever take a tour of Independence Hall, and they are open until 8 o'clock tonight, they refer to that sunburst, that chair, as the rising sun chair. So Franklin left his mark, his legacy, in a number of different areas, in science, politics, but you know how he wanted to be remembered the most? As a printer, absolutely. Questions?
How long would it take to set up a typewriter?
Really depended on not only the deadline, but the kind of compositors you would have. I really wasn't involved in the setting of this, but if you were a professional, if you were used to working with the type backwards, you could probably knock this out in just a couple of hours, maybe.
Do you want to use a separate letter?
But for the most part, there are separate letters. Now, some of the letters are actually 2 letters in one. They're called ligatures, because there are some letters that just don't fit together easily. So the typographer would actually take, for example, the letter C and the letter T, and actually make one format of it. It's actually 2 letters in one. It's called a ligature.
About like the word like that's used a lot.
Wasn't necessary to set that as one piece, because the typographers were working, the typesetters were working very, very quickly. Now, probably, I talked to someone about a year and a half ago from Colonial Williamsburg, and he claims that perhaps it took the official printer for Congress, John Dunlap, maybe it took several of his compositors total about 6 hours to set the type. It's over like, I think, 1,600 words in the Declaration of Independence. It took one of our park rangers, who ordinarily doesn't do this, it took her about 32 hours. We just sat her in this little chair right over here by the window so the light could come in, and she just went to town. So she did a really good job too, but 32 hours is a long time. But after a while, after she got to about 1/3 of the way down, she started working very, very quickly, because she started getting used to the idea of setting the type backwards and so forth.
I noticed that this one's different than that one, is there?
This is what we call our floor model. This is just one for show. Sometimes we use it, but generally we like to work with bigger ink balls. You can cover more area quickly. This is something that people can pass around and take a look at. It's made of a wooden handle. We have lamb's wool that's been carded and cleaned, and it's tacked so that you make a nice kind of shock absorber, because you want to apply the ink to the type. The type is made primarily from lead, and lead is a very soft metal, and the other portion of it is either antimony or tin to give it some solidness. So this is called an ink ball. If you want, you can kind of pass this around. The ink was made primarily from linseed oil and tree sap, and something called lampblack, which you'll still see today. Players, baseball players, football players use it under their eyes to absorb the sun. Chimney soot was the main ingredient of that. Yeah, they sure do.
Today, we know that under a different expression,